Okay, so ready na? Okay, so tapusin natin to hanggang 100 bago mag alas 12, kailan matapos na natin to. Kasi mamayang alauna is iba na yung ating lecture topic. Then mamayang gabi, CHN. Tuloy ng CHN. So number 50 tayo kahapon. So nag-end tayo sa number 50 and the question is the most common predisposition. Pag nababasa po yung word na predisposition, this is the predisposing factor o yung tinatawag natin na risk factor for having type 2 diabetes. So although diet, lifestyle can affect your risk for having diabetes mellitus type 2, ang tinatanong dito is the most common predisposition. So ang sagot natin dyan is obesity. Kasi always remember, obesity is the number one predisposing factor for having your type 2 diabetes. Yan, type 2 diabetes. Yung pag sumobra ka sa katabaan. Next, smoking. Ang smoking po is hindi po siya masyadong related sa development ng ating diabetes mellitus. Yan. So, hindi po siya. Pag sinabi mong smoking, this is the most common predisposing factor of lung cancer. Huwag nyo kakalimutan. Lung cancer po ito. Yan. Lung cancer and your bladder cancer. Huwag nyo kakalimutan yan. So, lung cancer and bladder cancer, yan yung ating isasagot naman kapag yun yung tanong. Most common or number one predisposition of lung cancer and bladder cancer. Yan, okay? So, we have your obesity as the most common predisposition of type 2 diabetes. Siningit ko yung lung cancer tsaka bladder cancer kasi common board din po yan. Laging tinatanong ano daw ba yung pinaka-strongest risk ng ating bladder cancer. Ang sagot doon is smoking cigarette. Pati yung ating smoking, pati yung ating lung cancer, smoking pa rin. Pero pag mga endocrine disorders, more on endocrine at saka cardiovascular diseases, pwede mo isagot dito yung obesity. Yan, obesity. We have your obesity. Next, number 51. What is the least complication of diabetes mellitus? Ibig sabihin po ng list, yung pinaka-list, ibig sabihin yan, pinaka hindi common. Yan, pinaka hindi common na complication. Kumbaga, nagiging negative po ito. Yan. Ang least negative question yan. Yan. Least common. Yung hindi common sa diabetes mellitus. So, letter A, peripheral neuropathy. Letter B, blurring of vision. Letter C, thrombophlebitis. Letter D, peripheral vascular disease. So, alin daw dito yung least complication of diabetes mellitus? So, alam naman natin kapag may diabetes ka, it will affect your blood circulation. Tama? Blood circulation. So, lumalapot ang dugo mo. So, causing what? Peripheral vascular diseases. So, pasok po yung ating letter D. Kasi kapag meron kang diabetes, hindi lamang po peripheral vascular disease ang at risk ka, kundi pati stroke. So, positive po ito na complication ng diabetes mellitus. Yan. So, aside dyan, pwede rin po itong mag-lead sa ating stroke or cerebrovascular accident. Okay? Next na ating tatanggalin dito kasi tanggal na yung letter D natin kasi complication po yan ng ating diabetes. Next, alam naman natin kapag merong diabetes, it affects your eyes, your kidneys, your heart, and your brain kapag ikaw ay nagkaroon ng cerebrovascular accident. So eyes, affected yung eyes mo. Anong tawag natin doon sa condition sa eyes? Lumalabas sa board exam yan. Yung hardening of your capillaries of your eyes. Yan, retinal capillaries of the retina of your eyes. Ang tawag natin doon is the retinopathy of diabetes. Okay? So we have your retinopathy. We have your letter B, blurring of vision. Pasok po ito as a complication of your diabetes. Yan. So positive complication po ito. Diabetic retinopathy, kung tawagin natin. Again, ang tawag natin dito, retinopathy. Retinopathy. So, pasok po yan na complication ng ating diabetes. Ngayon, is it letter A or letter C? Ano pong yung sinagot natin? Least complication, hindi common na complication ng diabetes. Ano sagot nyo? Letter C? Letter A or letter C? Tingnan natin. Pag sinabi natin peripheral neuropathy, it's all about your nerves. So, possible po ba na mga diabetes ay meron silang numbness and tingling sensations na nararamdaman? Yes or no? Yes. Madalas po ito na complaint ng mga pasyenteng may diabetes. Itong ating diabetes neuropathy. Yan. O yung ating tatawag na peripheral neuropathy. Painful nerves with tingling and numbness sensation, or ito yung meron siyang characteristic of pins and needle sensation, or tinatawag natin na paresthesias. Yan, meron siyang mga nararamdaman ditong paresthesias. Kaya nga sabi natin kahapon, kapag may diabetes, hindi pa pwedeng mag-apply ka na lamang ng warm compress at cold compress sa mga paa nila. Kasi because of the risk of your burn or yung ating frostbite. Kasi nga meron po silang neuropathy. So, neuropathy is also a complication of diabetes mellitus. Yan, diabetes mellitus, peripheral neuropathy, common din po yan. So, ang hindi common dito, thrombophlebitis. Yan, ulitin ko. Ang hindi common dito ay thrombophlebitis. So, the correct answer here is letter C. Hindi po common ang ating thrombophlebitis. Okay? So, letter C. List lang. Although merong chance na magkaroon din sila niyan, pero rare or least case lamang yung ating thrombophlebitis. Okay? Kasi pag sinabi mong thrombophlebitis, that is a form of peripheral vascular disease. Okay? So, letter C is the least complication of diabetes mellitus. So, sino po nakakuha nun? Letter C. Yan. So, sa ating complication ng ating type 2 diabetes, meron tayong tinatawag ditong macrovascular at microvascular complications. Ito'y lumalabas din po sa NP3 at saka NP4. So, take note, diabetes mellitus is a main concept in NP3 and NP4. So, hindi po ito mawawala sa board exam ninyo kasi nga isa ito sa pinaka-leading cause of morbidity in the country. We have your diabetes mellitus. So, pag sinabi mong microvascular complication, ang microvascular complication, these are the complications related to your conditions affecting your eyes, kidneys, and your nerves. Yan yung may small vascular complications po ito, yung mga malilit na blood vessels. Malilit na blood vessels sa mata, malilit na blood vessels sa inyong kidneys, malilit na blood vessels sa inyong brain. Yan yung ating sa ating extremities, sorry. So we have your diabetic retinopathy sa mata. Micro 'yon, micro. Pag retinopathy, micro. Pag nephropathy, micro. Kapag neuropathy, micro. Okay? So pag letter N, micro. Nephropathy and neuropathy, micro po yan. Kasama ng ating retinopathy. Kapag macrovascular naman, macro, mga malalaking organs na po yung affected dito. Example, your brain, stroke. Ano pa? Heart diseases. Ano pa? Peripheral vascular disease. So, yun po yung ating microvascular complication at saka macrovascular complication. Anong palatandaan? Microvascular. From the word micro, maliliit na ugat. Microvascular complication. Pag sinabi mo namang macrovascular, it affects the large blood vessel of your body, including your aorta, your heart. Yan. And also with your brain. Okay, so we have your stroke. So common dito yung stroke or CVA. So again, pag tinanong ka sa board exam, among which of the following is not a microvascular complication of diabetes mellitus? Mga ganyang tanong. So, kunwari, pinagsama-sama si retinopathy, nephropathy, neuropathy, tapos heart disease. Ano sagot natin? Siyempre, heart disease. Okay? So, ganun yun. Dapat alam mo yung microvascular sa macrovascular complication. So, madali lang naman siyang tandaan. Pag micro, malilit na ugat. Asan ba yung malilit na ugat? Capillaries of your retina. Retinopathy. Yung mga nasa kidneys mo, kidney tubules mo, we have your nephropathy. Then, we have also your neuropathy. Okay? So, yung ating painful nerves sa ating extremities. Pag mga large blood vessels, macrovascular po yun. Saan po naman yan? Brain, heart, at saka sa inyong peripheral circulatory system. So we have your peripheral vascular diseases. So dito na papasok yung ating mga peripheral vascular diseases like your atherosclerosis, etc., etc. So yun. Okay, so nakuha po ba? Again, ano pala tandaan? Pag microvascular, malilit na ugat. Pag macrovascular, malalaking ugat or organs ang affected. So pag sinabi sa board exam, retinopathy, ano daw yon? Micro. Stroke, macro. Heart disease, macro. Nephropathy or renal disease, micro. Then how about your neuropathy, micro din. So yun madali lang siyang tandaan. Yan yung 6 na common sa ating board exam. Si retinopathy, nephropathy, at saka si neuropathy. Yan. Sa macro naman is stroke, heart disease, and peripheral vascular disease. So, sabi dito, diabetic retinopathy is the leading cause of blindness in working age adults. While your diabetic nephropathy is the leading cause of your ESRD. What is ESRD? End-stage renal disease. Then diabetic neuropathy is the leading cause of your non-traumatic extremity amputation. So yun, yung mga tinatanggalan ng paa kasi nabubulok na, naagnas na yung kanyang paa. So may mga cases na ganyan sa ospital, yung inuud na yung kanyang paa, nakabalot sa plastic, inooperahan, ganun yun, okay? Because of your diabetes mellitus. Sa stroke naman, kapag may diabetes ka, you are at risk for stroke. 2-fold increase in cardiovascular mortality and stroke. Bakit? Kasi lumalapot ang dugo mo because of your hyperglycemia. Okay? Kung mapapansin mo, kapag magluluto ka ng isang ulam, kunwari, magluluto ka ng humba, yan. Pag nilagyan mo ng asukal, lumalapot yung kanyang sabaw. Ganon din kasi sa dugo. Kapag masyadong mataas ang sugar, lumalapot yung dugo. At pag masyadong malapot ang dugo, mataas ang blood pressure, at nagkakaroon tayo dito ng risk of your hypertension, heart disease leading to your cerebrovascular accident. Kaya nagkakaroon ng stroke. Okay? So yun. So we have your type 2 diabetes. Nakuha po ba? Nagets po ba yung ating micro tsaka macrovascular? Okay, very good. Next, number 52. The nurse teaches the client with angina about the common expected side effects of nitroglycerin, including A. Headache, B. Shortness of breath, C. Hypotension, or D. Stomach cramps. So, anong tinatanong po dito? Ang tinatanong is expected side effect. Expected side effect. So, take note magkaiba po ang side effect sa ating adverse effect. Okay? So, for your information, pag sinabi po nating side effect is the unintended but predictable effect of medications. Ulitin ko, pag sinabi pong side effect, unintended but predictable effect of certain medication. Unintended siya pero predictable na mangyayari. Yan. Pag sinabi mo naman kasing adverse effect, take note kasi pagdating sa board exam, pag adverse effect ang tinanong, piliin nyo yung more serious side effect. Nagets po? Pag sinabing side effect, mga ano lang ito, mga minor effects lamang ng gamot. Kunwari, side effect is the unintended but predictable effects of drug. Nandyan yung mga nausea and vomiting, nandyan yung mga headache, dizziness, mga ganun lamang yung side effect. Pero pag ang nabasa mo sa board exam is adverse effect, piliin mo yung serious side effect ng gamot. Pag adverse effect, nandyan yung mga shortness of breathing, rashes, nandyan na yung ating hypotension, tachycardia, that is your adverse effect. Okay, so yun yung pagkakaiba kasi marami po yung nadadali pagdating sa mga pharmacology question kasi nalilito sila. Parang dalawa yung sagot, gaganyan sila. Hindi nila alam side effect ang tinatanong, hindi nila alam adverse effect ng gamot ang tinatanong. Kasi magkaiba po yan. Pag sinabi mong adverse effect, mas serious yung side effect na nangyari. Pag sinabi mong side effect, unintended siya pero predictable. na sa tuwing take ka ng gamot na yan, kadalasan, karamihan ng pasyente nagtitake ng gamot na yan, yan yung mararamdaman sa gamot. So that is the side effect. Okay? So yung adverse effect, mas seryosong side effect yung nangyari. Okay? So kung titingnan natin, headache, side effect or adverse effect? Side effect or adverse effect? Side effect. Shortness of breath, that is adverse effect but not common to your nitroglycerin. So mali po ito kasi hindi po siya common sa nitroglycerin. Hypotension. Hypotension, is it serious or mild lamang ang hypotension? It is a serious side effect. So that is adverse effect na, hindi na po ito side effect. So stomach cramp, so that is a side effect also pero not related to your nitroglycerin. Yan. So ngayon, pag naglaban yung letter A at saka letter C, although common po itong dalawang ito sa ating nitroglycerin drug, kasi common po ito common na mangyayari ang headache at saka hypotension kapag nagtitake ka ng nitroglycerin. Pero ang tanong is expected side effect. So alin dito ang mas expected mong mangyari? Yung headache ba or yung hypotension? So punta ka sa ating side effect. We have your headache. So the correct answer here is letter A. Okay? So A is the correct answer. Headache is the correct answer. Sino nakakuha? Yan. Headache. Headache po yan. Side effect, headache. Very good. Kasi lumabas po yan last May board exam. May 2022, naglaban po si headache at saka si hypotension. Okay? So the correct answer is headache. Headache. Next, let's talk about your nitroglycerin or the nitrate drug. So always remember, nurses, nitrates are the mainstay treatment of angina. Okay? Atake de corazon? Hindi. Kasi yung atake de corazon, that is your MI. Yan. Angina is just a chest pain na kapag hindi mo na-manage yung angina, it may lead to your myocardial infarction. Yan. So nitrates are the mainstay for treatment of angina pectoris. So if we say nitroglycerin, it is a form of vasoactive agent. Yan, vasoactive agent po yan. So the purpose of administration of your nitroglycerin is to reduce your myocardial oxygen consumption. So that is the primary purpose why we are giving your nitroglycerin drug. Para ma-reduce yung myocardial oxygen consumption. And kapag na-reduce nga yung ating oxygen consumption or oxygen want, it will decrease your ischemia and it will relieve your chest pain. So the primary purpose is to reduce your myocardial oxygen consumption. Secondary function niya is to reduce your ischemia and to alleviate your pain. So yun tatandaan natin. So pag tinanong sa board exam, nitroglycerin usual route of administration is sublingual. Nilalagay po natin yan sa frenulum ng ating dila kasi nandun yung mga blood vessels for your drug absorption. So usual route, we have your sublingual, pwede rin nating spray at saka topical patch or IV nitroglycerin. Okay? Pero ang pinaka-common talaga dyan, sublingual. Yan, sublingual. Although may mga nitroglycerin patches po tayo, pinaka-common talagang ginagamit is the sublingual route. Kasi mas mabilis po yung kanyang absorption kapag sublingual. Okay? Although may IV, kasi IV is the fastest route, kapag sa angina pectoris, more on sublingual po yung ating gamot. A common board question, tinatanong lagi sa board exam din, bakit nakalagay sa amber, okay, sa amber colored bottle yung ating nitroglycerin? Pag na-encounter nyo po yung board question na yon, bakit laging mga gamot ay nakalagay sa kulay brown or mga amber yellow colored yan? So pag sinabi mong amber is the dark yellow colored bottle, yung pakulay brown na siya. Bakit kaya? Anong rason bakit nilalagay doon? Napag-usapan na natin yan sa ating immunization. So kaya nilalagay po yung mga gamot dyan sa mga boteng yan or sa mga bottles na yan, that is to protect the medication or the vaccine against sunlight. Kasi some drugs are resistant to some drugs are sensitive to light. So katulad ng nitroglycerin, hindi siya pwedeng tamaan ng araw. So kailangan nakalagay po siya sa amber color bottle. That is to maintain its potency. To maintain its potency. What is potency? Effectiveness. Yan. Para effective pa rin at pwede pa rin magamit yung gamot. That is your nitroglycerin bottle. Tinatanong po yan sa board exam, bakit nakalagay sa amber color bottle? Ang sagot lang doon, to maintain drug potency. Okay? To maintain drug potency. Another question about your nitroglycerin in your board exam is, bakit daw may burning sensation? Yan. Na kapag tinetake daw ni patient yung sublingual nitroglycerin niya, nakakaramdam daw siya ng burning sensation. Ano daw yung respond mo as a nurse? So your response as a nurse kapag sinabi ni patient na, nurse, bakit may burning sensation yung aking dila kapag tinetake ko yung nitroglycerin? Your answer is, ang tawag dito, your answer is, tell to the patient that the drug is potent. Yan, that is a sign that the drug is effective or potent pa, kaya meron siyang burning sensation. So, potency of the drug is the cause of your burning sensation upon your sublingual administration. Then next, another question, kapag naging green or naging blue or dark red na yung ating IV nitroglycerin solution, i-discard mo na po yun. Bakit? Kasi sira na po yun pag ganun. So, discoloration of your nitroglycerin turning into blue, turning into green, or dark red, discard the medication. Okay? Discard mo yung medication. So, wag nyo kakalimutan yan. I-discard mo yung medication kapag nagda-dark na siya, nagiging green na siya, or nagiging blue na yung gamot. Kasi ibig sabihin yan, sira na yung gamot. So, you must discard your parenteral IV solution. So, these are the some common board question or mga important details about your nitrate drug or your nitroglycerin. It is a vasoactive medication. So what is the number one purpose why we are administering your nitroglycerin to your patient with angina? Number one purpose is to reduce your myocardial oxygen consumption. Secondary purpose is to reduce your pain and to reduce ischemia into your myocardial tissues. So yun. Para hindi matuloy yung MI. Kasi pag hinayaan mo lang siya, magkaka-MI yung patient. No? Yan. Next, usual route of administration, sublingual. So merong sublingual, merong topical, merong IV. At saka merong spray. Next, a burning sensation is normal. It suggests that the drug is still potent. Then, discoloration of your IV solution of nitroglycerin into blue, green, and dark red. What should the nurse do? Discard the solution. Okay, itapon mo kapag nag-discolor yung solution. So, that is your nitroglycerin. O, nakasabay po ba? Nitroglycerin. Nakasabay? Okay, yes. Next, addendum. Nitrate drugs. Always remember kapag may na-encounter na tanong sa ating board exam about your nitrate drugs or nitroglycerin, ito po yung ating tatandaan. Take note, before giving a patient a nitrate drug, ask the patient if they have taken Viagra or Cialis. Yan. Viagra or the sildenafil citrate, yan. Tama ba? Sildenafil yan. Sildenafil ang tawag natin sa Viagra. Lumabas kasi yan sa board exam. What is the generic name of Viagra? Sildenafil yan. Sildenafil ang lumabas dati sa board exam. So, bago mo bigyan ng nitrate drug ang patient mo, tanungin mo kung nag-take ba siya ng Viagra or Cialis. Why? Because your Viagra and your nitrate drugs have a common property. And its property is same po sila na vasoactive po sila. Pag sinabi natin vasoactive drug po sila, they can cause vasodilation. Okay? They can cause vasodilation resulting into a severe hypotension. Yan, severe hypotension. Severe hypotension. Again, bago daw tayo magbigay ng nitrate, tanungin natin kung nag-take po siya ng other drugs like your Viagra or Cialis or any drugs in a form of vasoactive description. Kunwari, mga gamot na vasoactives. Ano ba yung mga vasoactive drugs natin? Yung mga vasodilating drugs. So, kailangan tanungin natin muna sila kung nag-take sila. Kasi pag nag-take sila, tapos nag-take ka ng nitrate, it may lead to your severe hypotension condition. Okay? So, severe hypotension is a fatal condition. So, bawal magbigay kapag naka-Viagra pala siya. Yan. Next. So, another is, if the chest pain or discomfort is not relieved in 5 minutes after one dose, the patient should call 911 immediately. Sa unang take mo pa lang ng ating tablet, kasi hanggang 3 beses ka lamang pwedeng mag-take ng ating nitroglycerin tablet. Okay? Hanggang 3 tablet ka lang every 5 minutes. Yan. So kailangan kapag nag-take ka ng isang tablet at hindi na-relieve yung pain niya within 5 minutes, dapat tumawag ka na. Tumawag ka na agad. Hindi pa pwede na tsaka lang tatawag kapag nakatatlong tablet ka na tapos hindi pa rin nawawala yung pain tsaka ka lang tatawag. Mali. Unang take mo pa lang, after 5 minutes at hindi pa rin nawawala yung ating chest pain, tumawag ka na ng emergency. Yan. Tumawag ka na sa emergency hotline. Para habang nagtatake ka ng second dose, third dose ng inyong nitroglycerin, on the way na yung ating emergency team para sunduin ka. Kasi pag hindi pa rin kasi nare-relieve yan, baka hindi na po yan angina pectoris. Baka yan na po yung tatawag natin na myocardial infarction. Malinaw po? So huwag niyong kakalimutan. Hanggang ilang tablet lamang daw ang itatake mo, hanggang 3 lang. With 5 minutes interval. Okay? For relief of your pain. If no relief, then refer the patient. So pag nagtatake ka po ng nitroglycerin, you must refrain from moving. So you must stop activities. Just sit or lie down. Hindi ka pwedeng mag-manage or mag-operate ng machineries. Hindi ka pwedeng mag-drive ng mga vehicles. Kasi nga, meron po itong headache and dizziness effect. Dizziness is due to your hypotension. Yan. So, hindi pwede kasi nakakaantok po ito. Nakakahilo ang gamot na ito. So pag nag-take ka ng ating sublingual nitroglycerin, you must stay still. Huwag kang galaw ng galaw. Do not make any sudden movements kasi baka bigla kang mahilo at magkaroon ka ng orthostatic hypotension kung tawagin natin. Next, open bottle of nitroglycerin should be replaced every 3 to 6 months. Yan. So, tinatanong sa board exam, replacement of your nitroglycerin bottle is every 3 to 6 months. O, tandaan nyo po yan. Every 3 to 6 months. Replacement of your nitroglycerin bottle. O, so, any question po? Ayan. 5 minutes pala. Yan. 5 minutes. First tablet pa lang, in after 5 minutes at hindi nawala yung pain, tumawag na agad ng tulong. Number 50 A, headache, kasi that is the most common expected side effect of nitroglycerin, headache. Next, number 53. Which laboratory value should the nurse monitor related to warfarin or Ayan, so sorry, nag-mute po tayo bigla. Number 54, ulitin ko, 53, ulitin ko lang. Which laboratory value should the nurse monitor related to warfarin comadin therapy? Warfarin comadin therapy. A. Thrombocytes. B. Activated prothrombin time. C. Electrolytes. D. Prothrombin time. So, syempre, kapag itong mga anticoagulant drugs natin, warfarin drug, so, tatanggalin una natin dito electrolytes kasi obviously wrong po yan. Pag may sumagot ng electrolytes, yan, pakipitik po yung kanyang clitoris yan. Kasi mali po yan. Siguro naduling lang siya. Electrolytes, bakit mo naman i-check yung electrolytes niya kapag siya naka-comadin therapy? Ang electrolytes, chine-check po yan kapag ikaw ay naka-diuretic therapy. Yan. So, letter C, mali. Thrombocytes. What is thrombocytes? Thrombocytes is your... What is thrombocyte? platelets. Bakit mo naman i-check yung platelets niya? I-check mo po bang platelets niya? Pwede din, kasi warfarin is anticoagulant, pero hindi po yan yung ating immunomonitor. So, sabi ko nga sa inyo, sa board exam, when there are two opposing option in your board exam, titigan at tutukan nyo po sila kasi isa sa kanila ang possible na tamang sagot. Pero not always applicable kasi may mga tanong sa board exam na na-encounter ko na may naglalaban pero wala sa dalawa ang tamang sagot. Oo, may mga tanong na silang ginawang ganun. Toso din kasi ang ating mga board of nursing. Yan. Board of nurses. So, minsan naglalagay sila naglalaban pero wala pala sa dalawang tamang sagot. Ngayon, activated prothrombin time or prothrombin time? Ano sagot natin? APTT or the PTT? B or D? Ano sagot nyo? Sige daw. Tingnan natin ang sagot nila ay B. Yung iba D. PTT. PTT. Prothrombin time. Okay. Anong last number? Sa nitroglycerin po ba? Okay. Ito wait lang daw. Pakibalik daw sa saglit lang. Yan. Pa-screenshot na lamang po or kopyahin. Yan. Okay na po? Yan. Okay, so number 54, 53, balik tayo dito. So, letter B or letter D? So, take note. So, pag ganitong tanong, warfarin comadin therapy, ang ating kailangang i-monitor dito is the prothrombin time. Take note niyo yan. Prothrombin time po ito, letter D. The correct answer here, letter D. Yan. This is for the monitoring of your patient under warfarin. Yan, warfarin therapy. Pero pag sinabi mong activated partial prothrombin time or tinatawag din natin siyang APTT or the activated partial thromboplastin time, ito naman po yung dapat minomonitor mo kapag ang patient mo ay naka-heparin. Yan. So, huwag niyong kakalimutan yan. So, for heparin, you must check the activated prothrombin time, while your warfarin, you must check the prothrombin time. So, yun po yung pagkakaiba niyan. So, malinaw po. So, aside sa ating heparin sa activated prothrombin time, i-check mo din yan kapag ikaw ay naka-aspirin or naka-antihistamine drugs. So, yun po yung ating mga gamot na required din na i-check mo yung ating PTT. Yan. So, letter dog is the correct answer. Sinakakuha? Letter D. Okay. Mali kayo. So, that is a common board question. I think lumabas lamang po yan last May board exam. May 2022 board exam. Tinanong ko anong i-monitor mo kapag nakakoma din yung pasyente. Although pinaparaphrase ko ng ating Board of Nursing at ginagawa nilang situation, those questions are NCLEX-based type. Yan. So, beware sa mga ganong tanong. Oo, nagkabaliktad. Di ba? Ang galing talaga ng mga tanong natin. Number 54. Ito naman siguro hindi na kayo nagkamali. What is the antidote for the warfarin drug? Antidote for warfarin, vitamin K, protamine sulfate, Narcan, or flumazenil. Yan, flumazenil. So, alin po dito yung ating antidote kapag kapag warfarin ang pinag-uusapan natin. So, ayan. So, unahin natin itong flumazenil kasi parang ngayon nyo lang narinig, yung iba ngayon lang narinig, yung gamot na yan. Pag sinabi natin flumazenil, that is the antidote for your respiratory depressant drugs. Like yung mga benzodiazepines. Yan. So, kunwari, nag-anesthesia ka, nagbigay ka ng benzodiazepine drug. So, that is the antidote of benzodiazepines. Yan. So, example is diazepam. Okay? So, pag nagbigay ka ng diazepam, Valium, so ito po yung ating pinaka antidote kapag nagkaroon ng sedation or respiratory depression, diazepam or Valium drug. Okay, so are you learning, guys? So, kailangan na pag mga rasyo, dapat mapasok kayo kasi dagdag kaalaman din yung mga rationales natin. Okay? So ngayon, Narcan drug is a common board question also. Huwag niyong kakalimutan yan. Isa ito sa paboritong itanong lagi ng ating Board of Nursing. Narcan is the naloxone drug. Huwag niyong kakalimutan. Naloxone drug or Narcan, isa po yan. Narcan or naloxone. Yan, Narcan or naloxone drug. So isa po ito sa pinakapaboritong itanong ni Board of Nursing. Naloxone or Narcan drug. This is the antidote of your drugs causing respiratory depression like your opiate toxicity, opiate drugs, or mga narcotic drugs. So, hindi na natin iisa-isahin yan kasi dapat alam nyo yung mga opiate drugs ninyo. Ano mga opiate drugs natin, sir? Nandyan si morphine, nandyan si hydromorphone, nandyan si meperidine. So, pag na-encounter nyo yung mga gamot na yon, isa lamang ang sagot nyo kapag ang tanong is antidote or antagonist. Okay, so huwag nyo kakalimutan, antagonist or antidote of your opiate or narcotic drug is your Narcan drug. Example ng ating mga opiates, narcotics, sinabi ko na, morphine, meperidine, or the Demerol. Yan, morphine and the Demerol. What is the generic name of Demerol? Meperidine. Yan. Ano, nag-take si patient ng morphine, nag-take si patient ng Demerol or meperidine. Tapos nagkaroon siya ng respiratory depression. So, anong ibibigay na gamot ng nurse? So, the nurse should administer the antagonist drug or the antidote drug, Narcan or Naloxone. Ngayon, naiwan na naman si letter A at letter B. Vitamin K versus your protamine sulfate. Yan. Warfarin. Yan, warfarin. Warfarin. Kung hatiin mo yung W, nagiging nagmi-mute po ako pag may tumatawag, sorry. Sino tumatawag sa inyo? Ayan. So, what is the antidote for warfarin? O, kung hatiin mo yung letter W, nagiging letter V siya. So, warfarin is letter V. V for vitamin K. So, the correct answer here, nurses, is the vitamin K. Letter A is the correct answer. Kasi protamine sulfate is the antidote of heparin. Heparin. So again, protamine sulfate is the antidote of heparin drug. So letter A is the correct answer. Sinakakuha. Okay, very good. Sa mga humihingi po ng Certificate of Enrollment, mamaya after ng rationalization natin, paki-forward po yung score ninyo. Ha? Yung mga kailangan lang yan. So yung mga nangangailangan lang sa school. Okay, very good. Yan. Baka may nalito pa, nagsagot pa ng protamine sulfate. Next, number 55. When a patient has psoriasis, which sign would a nurse expect to find? Psoriasis. Yan, psoriasis. Kung mapapansin mo, meron tayong maraming letter S sa salitang psoriasis. SSS. Kasi yan yung palatandaan mo kapag psoriasis ang sakit ng pasyente mo. Ano yung SSS na yan, sir? Silvery scales of skin. Yan. SSS, silvery scales of the skin. So, ibig pwedeng impetigo. Yan, impetigo. So, the correct answer here, psoriasis, that is your silvery scales of the skin. So, itchy po siya with scaly patches. So, the correct answer, letter boy. SSS. Silvery scales of the skin. Sino po nakakuha nun? Yung parang may mga kalikaliskis. Sir, pwede din po bang makahingi ng certificate? Okay, okay lang po ma'am. Sige po. Ano po sagot? Tumatawag siguro ang LB. Yan, nagmi-mute po. Nagmi-mute yan kapag may tumatawag. Ganyan po ako, hindi po ako nasagot kapag kapag busy po ako. Naka-do not disturb po kasi ako. Pag sinagot ko po yan, mawawala po yung Zoom natin. It's either siguro LBC delivery yan. May mga hindi na naman siguro matawagan sa inyo. Oo, kasi pag ito natatawagan yung recipient, ako yung kinukulit ng mga yan eh. Sir, paki-contact naman po kung may ibang contact po kayo, si ma'am ganito, ganyan. Ano sagot? Letter B nga po, letter B. Yung may scale, yan. Ito po, number 54 yan. Nag-request pabalik daw. Yan. Letter A, impetigo. Letter B, psoriasis. Letter C, pag macular rashes, measles yan. Red and painful lesions, that is your herpes. Yan, herpes zoster. Herpes simplex pala. That is your shingles. Shingles kung tawagin natin yan. Pag ma-painful lesions, mga shingles na po yan, especially kapag sa katawan. Shingles is the complication of chickenpox. Herpes or the shingles. Yan, okay? So, psoriasis, we have your symptoms of psoriasis. Number 1, red raised inflamed patches of the skin. Whitish or silver scales or flakes on the red patches. Tapos, ano pa? Dry skin that may crack and bleed. Painful, swollen joints. Soreness around patches. Itching and burning sensations around patches. So, makati din po siya. Then, pag titingnan mo yung kanyang kuko, there is a thick pitted nails. Thick pitted nails. So, these are the symptoms of psoriasis. So, I think psoriasis, lumabas po yan last May board exam. Yan. So, pag may na-encounter na psoriasis, pag tinanong ka, ano daw yung expected sign na makikita mo kay psoriasis, hanapin yung may mga scale sa skin. Kasi yun yung ating pinaka-hallmark na palatandaan kay psoriasis. We have your scales. Yan. Kasi pag naglalaban po ito, minsan pinaglalaban po nila yung butterfly rush on the face. Yan. Minsan yun yung naisasagot ng mga board takers. Nalilito sila. Systemic lupus naman po yung may butterfly rush. Pag may silver scales naman po siya, that is your psoriasis. Yan, psoriasis. So, let's talk about your patient with psoriasis. Psoriasis is a chronic immune skin disorder. Yan. A chronic skin disorder. There is a raised, reddened, round, circumscribed flakes covered by silvery white scales, which are most commonly found on your elbows, your knees, and your scalp. So, kadalasan makikita mo ito sa elbow, knee, and your scalp. So, the most common type of your psoriasis is the plaque psoriasis or yung tinatawag natin na psoriasis vulgaris. Then, it occurs most often in Caucasian race. Yan, Caucasians po ang kadalasan nagkakaroon ng psoriasis. So, psoriasis is an autoimmune disorder. Again, ulitin ko, it is an autoimmune disorder. So, pag autoimmune disorder, drug of choice natin dyan, corticosteroid drugs. Huwag niyong kakalimutan yan. Lumabas yan last May 2022. Corticosteroid drug is the drug for your psoriasis. Yan, corticosteroid drugs. So, we have your chronic immune skin disorder, and that is your psoriasis. So what is the sign of psoriasis? Raised, reddened, round, circumscribed flakes covered by silvery white scales of the skin. Which part of the skin? Elbows, knees, and your scalp. Elbows, knees, and your scalp. The most common type of your psoriasis is the plaque psoriasis, o yung tatawag natin na psoriasis vulgaris. And it occurs more often or most often in Caucasian race. Again, psoriasis is an autoimmune disorder. So pag autoimmune ang sakit, drug of choice is corticosteroid drugs. Yan, drug of choice is corticosteroid drugs. O, nakakasabay po ba? Yan. Sa Pilipinas, marami din may mga psoriasis eh. So, sino sa inyo dito yung may na-encounter ng psoriasis na patient? Meron ng na-encounter na merong psoriasis. Okay? So, always remember po, ang psoriasis, pwede rin po itong mag-lead sa ating tinatawag na arthritis. Kasi affected po yung mga joints din nila. Okay? So, meron tayo dito tinatawag na psoriatic arthritis. Ayan. Sa Pilipinas, meron tayong psoriasis din. Mga around 40% siguro sa Pilipinas, merong psoriasis. 40% of Filipinos. Ang dami, ano? Yan. Next. Okay na? So, what are the precipitating factor of psoriasis? Number 1, sunlight. Number 1, sunlight. Number 2, stress. Number 3, seasonal changes. Number 4, hormonal fluctuations. Number 5, steroid withdrawal. Number 6, certain drugs. Number 7, family history. Number 8, skin trauma from surgery. Then number 9, sunburn. And number 10, excoriation. So, huwag niyong kakalimutan yan. O, pakikopya. So, ayan. Okay, so huwag niyong kakalimutan yan. Sir, lumabas po yung sa board exam, ano daw yung risk factor ng psoriasis. Yan. So, pag tinanong ka sa board exam, what is the strongest risk factor of your psoriasis? Ang sagot nyo is family history. Okay, huwag nyo kakalimutan yan ha. Strongest risk factor is family history. Yan. Kahit yan lamang isulat ninyo. So always remember, strongest risk factor of having psoriasis is your family history. Kapag strongest naman precipitating factor, that is your stress. Yan, stress naman kapag strongest precipitating factor. Yan. So we have your psoriasis. Family history is the strongest risk factor of your psoriasis. Huwag niyong kakalimutan. Tapos itong iba naman na ito, yung mga nakikita nyo, itong mga injuries, yung mga sunburns, itong mga to, yung mga kulay green, lalagay ko, yung kulay green, yung ating skin trauma, excoriations, ano pa, pakidagdag din dyan, alcohol and cigarette, pwede rin po kasi yun eh. Alcohol and cigarette. Itong mga ito, ang tawag natin dyan sa ating mga precipitating factors na ito yung tinatawag natin na Koebner response. Yan. So kapag ang isang tao ay excessively drinking alcohol at nag-smoke po siya o di kaya nagkaroon siya ng injury sa skin such as cuts, scrape, insect bite, or sunburn, ang tawag mo doon sa response na yon na nagkaroon ng psoriasis is the Koebner response. Okay, Koebner response ang tawag doon. Kaya nagkakaroon siya ng psoriasis because of your Koebner response. Paki-screenshot or paki-kopya na lang. So we have your precipitating factors. Again, the strongest risk factor, family history. Precipitating factors, we have your sunlight, stress, seasonal changes, yan. Tobacco, alcohol, lahat yan. So pag mag-select all that apply po yan, piliin nyo po ito. Always remember po, genetic or family history is the strongest risk factor of plaque psoriasis. Strongest risk factor. Next, number 56. When writing a plan of care for a patient with psoriasis, the nurse would know that an appropriate nursing diagnosis for this patient would be what? A. Impaired skin integrity. B. Acute pain. C. Disturbed body image. Or D. Risk for infection. So always remember, kapag tinatanong ka sa board exam ng mga appropriate nursing diagnosis, technique in the excuse lamang, titingnan ko lang kung sino itong miss call ng miss call. Ayun, estudyante. Okay. O, balik tayo dito sa ating psoriasis. We have your number 56. So, ano pong sagot nyo dito? What is the appropriate nursing diagnosis for this patient? So, pag naka-encounter po kayo ng mga, kasi common po sa board exam na itanong talaga ng Board of Nursing yung mga nursing diagnosis. So, walang board exam na hindi magtatanong ng nursing diagnosis. So, ang technique natin dyan para matama mo lagi ang tanong ng mga nursing diagnosis, piliin mo yung pinaka-actual problem na. Okay? Ang ibig kong sabihin po is kapag meron ng sakit ang isang pasyente, piliin mo yung actual problem. Yung gagawan mo ng actual nursing diagnosis. Pangalawa, actual una actual. Pangalawang piliin mo pag walang actual problem, risk diagnosis or the potential nursing diagnosis. Yung mga potential na pwedeng mangyari kapag may sakit siyang ganyan. Pag walang potential nursing diagnosis sa choices, piliin mo yung ating wellness diagnosis. Yun yung pinakahuli. Okay? So since merong sakit yung patient natin dito, may psoriasis po siya, ano yung actual problem na pwedeng sinasuffer ngayon ng patient mo? Yun yung i-priority mo. Yun yung appropriate na nursing diagnosis mo. So sabi ko, unahin mo yun. Okay? Unahin mo yun. So alin dito yung possible na problem ng patient mo? A. Impaired skin integrity. B. Acute pain. C. Disturbed body image. Or D. Risk for infection. Yung acute pain, okay lang din naman yan. Pero more on discomfort po kapag meron kang psoriasis. Yan. Skin discomfort. Pag merong psoriasis kasi makati, masakit. Tapos, yun nga, discomfort dapat, hindi acute pain. So, hindi natin i-priority yung acute pain dito. So, mali po yung acute pain. So, between A, C, or D, alin dito yung pinaka-appropriate? Ano sinagot po ng karamihan? Letter A yan. Letter A. Psoriasis is, ano sabi ng isa? Impaired skin. Okay? So, tama. Ang ating priority nursing diagnosis dito is yung actual problem ng ating patient. Because in psoriasis, there is an impaired skin integrity. Letter A. Tapos, pumapangalawa sa impaired skin integrity, number 1 ito. Number 1, pumapangalawa ang risk for infection. Pumapangatlo yung disturbed body image. So, letter A is the correct answer. Sino nakakuha po dyan? So, impaired skin integrity is the most appropriate nursing diagnosis for your patient with psoriasis. Yan. So, an appropriate diagnosis for a patient with psoriasis would include impaired skin integrity as it relates to scaly lesions. So, impaired skin integrity is the appropriate nursing diagnosis. The psoriatic skin lesion will increase the risk of infection and can further compromise healing. Kaya pumapangalawa ang risk for infection. Kasi wala pa naman yung infection. At risk pa lang naman siya. So, hindi yun yung ating pinaka-priority na nursing diagnosis. Kasi sabi ko sa inyo, pag magsasagot ng nursing diagnosis, piliin mo muna yung actual nursing diagnosis. Yung present problem ng patient mo. Pag wala kang nakikitang present problem or actual nursing diagnosis na nababagay sa patient mo, next is your risk diagnosis. Okay? So, yun. So, letter A is the correct answer. Next, number 57. The cardiac or vascular nurse encourage a patient with hypertension to adopt a low sodium diet. Lumabas po ito last May 2022. The American Heart Association recommends limiting this patient's sodium to A. 1,200 mg per day, B. 1,700 mg per day, C. 1,500 mg per day, or D. 2,400 mg per day. So take note, meron na po siyang hypertension. Ano na ang ating keyword dito, sir? Patient is with hypertension. Yan. Ano ang nire-recommend ng AHA for your sodium intake for your patient with hypertension? A, 1,200. Technique in the board exam, kapag mga numerical values po ang nasa option, you can use your extreme the highest and extreme the lowest choices. Anong ibig sabihin ng extreme the highest, extreme the lowest? Tatanggalin mo ang pinaka-highest value at tatanggalin mo yung lowest value. And the second most lowest value is the possible answer in the board exam. And the correct answer here is 1,500. Ganun po yun. So, anong una kong tinanggal? Yung highest number. Tinanggal ko muna yung letter D. Kasi extreme the highest, extreme the lowest. That is a test-taking strategy kapag numbers ang nasa choices. Then, 50-50% makukuha mo yung tamang sagot. Kadalasan, ang sagot lagi ay yung second to the lowest number. So, ano bang second to the lowest? 1,500. So, the correct answer is 1,500. O, technique po yun ha. May natutunan naman kayong technique ngayon sa board exam. Kapag numbers or digits ang nakikita sa choices, you can use your test-taking strategy, extreme the highest, extreme the lowest number. Oo. Pansinin nyo minsan. Hindi naman sa lagi, pero karamihan ng mga ganyang numero, extreme the highest, extreme the lowest, applicable po yan. How about sa computation sa drugs? Ay, kailangan mo mag-compute doon. Pero itry mo muna din yung extreme the highest, extreme the lowest, then compute the drug. Tapos makikita mo naman kung tama talaga yon. Yan, okay? Extreme the highest, extreme the lowest. Sabi dito, The American Heart Association recommends no more than 2,300 mg a day and ideal limit, yan na, ideal limit of no more than 1,500 mg per day for most adults with high blood pressure and heart disease. So lumabas po yan last May board exam. The correct answer is 1,500. With high blood pressure and heart disease. So any question po doon? Yan, lumabas po yan last board exam. Next, number 58. Another question last May 2022. How is the auscultated first heart sound created? A. Pulmonic and tricuspid valve close. B. Mitral and aortic valve close. C. Aortic and pulmonic valve close. Or letter D. Mitral and tricuspid valve close. NP3 yata ito kung hindi nagkakamali. NP3 or NP4 question na po ito. Last board exam. So, A, B, C, or D. So, take note, lumabas po ito last May board exam. So, kung may meron mang hawak ng tanong na yan ngayon, tayo pa lamang ang may hawak niyan. Wala pa yung sa ibang review centers yan. Tayo lang may hawak niyan. Oh, sure na sure ako doon. Oh, sure na sure tayo dyan. Tayo lang may hawak ng tanong na yan. So, ano sagot natin? A, B, C, or D? A, B, C, or D? Ano sagot nyo? What is the first heart sound? Anong nag-close pag first heart sound? Guess. Anong guess nyo? Wild guess. Letter D, letter D, letter... Oh, wala sa ibang review center yan. Yan yung pinaka-sure ko ngayon kasi basta wala sa kanila mga tanong na yan, yung mga lumabas last May 22. Meron man sila nung November, May wala. Okay? So, sabi dito, kapag sinabi po nating S1 or the first heart sound is the closure of the tricuspid and the mitral valve. Tricuspid and the mitral. S1. Yan. So, S2 naman is the closure of your aortic and your pulmonic valve. So, yun nag-close. Aortic and pulmonic valve. So, pag S1, TM ang nag-close. Anong TM? Tricuspid and mitral valve. Kapag namang S2, we have your aortic and pulmonic valve. Okay, so wag nyo kakalimutan. So, ang tinanong, S1. So, keyword mo na lang, pag nag-close ang S1, nag-close ang TM. Kasi that is the common board yan eh. Common board po yan. Lumabas na sa board exam. So, may chance na ulitin yan this November board exam. Kasi, mahirap yung tanong. So, S1, first heart sound, TM. Asan yung TM dyan? Letter A, pulmonic and tricuspid valve. Mali, kasi TP yan. P at saka T, mali. Mitral and aortic, mali din. Aortic and pulmonic, mali din. Mitral and tricuspid, TM ang keyword natin. So, letter D is the correct answer. Okay? It is the closure of the mitral and the tricuspid valve. Yung letter C natin, S2. Yung letter D natin, S1. So, letter D is the correct answer. So, the first heart sound is created by the closure of your mitral and your tricuspid valve. Next, number 59. The patient has been ordered, yan, May 2022 board exam question again. The patient has been ordered a regimen to treat a urinary tract infection and notifies the nurse that the patient urine has turned an orange color. The nurse recognizes that the patient is most likely being treated with which drug? A. Ciprofloxacin. B. Betanicol. C. Darifenacin hydrobromide. Or letter D. Phenazopyridine or the pyridium drug. So, alin po dito yung nakaka-discolor ng urine ng patient? A, B, C, or D? Ano sagot natin? Yan, lumabas po yan last May 2022. Same question, same choices po. Sagot natin dito. So it turns the urine of your patient orange color. Ang sagot natin is pyridium. Kasi yan lang naman yung gamot na binibigay natin sa ating patient na may UTI. Okay? To alleviate the pain and inflammation. Pyridium is a drug to alleviate the pain and inflammation. And the common side effect of this drug is your urine discoloration. So, anong kulay ng urine mo kapag nag-take ka ng pyridium? It is your orange-colored urine. So, the correct answer here is letter D. Okay? Ciprofloxacin, hindi po yan kasi hindi naman po yan nakaka-cause ng urine discoloration. Rifampicin antibiotic, yes. Ciprofloxacin, no. So, letter D is the correct answer. Sino nakakuha? Siguro yung mga nag-take last May, naaalala nyo pa yung mga yan. Pyridium po, sikat na gamot sa NCLEX din yan. Pyridium drug. Kaya yan tinatanong. Okay. So, if we say pyridium drug, phenazopyridine hydrochloride or the pyridium is a urinary analgesic prescribed to relieve the pain associated with urinary tract infection. Yan. So it is a prescribed to relieve the pain associated with your urinary tract infection. Pyridium. Okay, so next set, nursing practice 4, care of clients, part B. Number 60. Multiple myeloma is a cancer that forms in a type of cell called A. T cells, B. Plasma cells, C. Alpha cells, or D. Beta cells. Ano ang sagot natin dito? Multiple myeloma. Myelogenous. Mga ganyan. Pag myelogenous, myelo means ano? Bone marrow. Di ba? Pag myeloma, myelogenous. That is bone marrow. Ang affected dito is the bone marrow. Ano bang meron sa bone marrow? Bone marrow is the site of your blood formation, erythropoiesis. Okay? So, meron sa bone marrow yung tatawag natin na plasma cells. So, sa bone marrow, nandyan yung mga plasma cells natin. Plasma cells for the creation of your antibodies. Yan. So, the correct answer here is not your T cells, not your alpha cells, not your beta cells kasi itong mga alpha, beta natin, not part of your bone. Part po yan ng mga pancreatic cells mo. T cell is your part of your immune cells. Plasma cell is the correct answer. Yan. So, multiple myeloma is a cancer that forms in a type of cell called your plasma cells. And that is a May 2022 board exam question. Okay? Last May din po yan. Sinakakuha, plasma cell. Yan, plasma cell. Yung technique po natin sa S1 TM lang tatandaan mo dyan. S1 is due to the closure of TM. What is TM? Tricuspid and mitral valve. Yun naman po ilagay mo. TM closure. Pag alam mo na yung TM, alam mo na yung nag-close. Tricuspid and mitral valve. Nagkamali daw siya. Okay, so that is your plasma cell. So myeloma is a type of blood cancer. Ano daw? It is a type of blood cancer. Hematologic po siya. That develops from cells in the bone marrow called as the plasma cell. Kaya siya tinawag na multiple kasi it forms in a type of white blood cell called plasma cell. So multiple myeloma because most people, 90%, have a multiple bone lesions at the time of its diagnosis. Kaya siya tinawag na multiple kasi meron siyang multiple bone lesions upon upon the time of diagnosis of your multiple myeloma. Okay? Multiple myeloma. Ang multiple myeloma, hindi naman po siya nalalayo sa mga signs and symptoms ng leukemia. Nandyan pa rin naman yung ating neutropenia, nandyan pa rin naman yung ating thrombocytopenia, mga ganyan. Anemia, meron pa rin yan. Fatigue. So, yung pinaka-priority nursing diagnosis mo kapag meron kang multiple myeloma is the risk of infection. Tandaan niyo yan. Risk of infection is the priority nursing diagnosis in a patient with multiple myeloma. Why? Because it affects your plasma cell. And that is a type of your white blood cell. Huwag niyong kakalimutan yan. Okay? So, that is a cell that produces your WBC. So, kapag mababang WBC mo, mababang panlaban mo sa sakit. So, number one risk diagnosis natin dyan is the risk for infection. So, always protect your patient against infection. Limit visitors, no to fresh fruits and vegetables, no to flowers and plants inside the room, no to crowd places, yan, crowded places. So yun. No exposure to sick or ill individuals or isolate your patient. Anong form of isolation kapag mga ganyan? Protective isolation ang gagawin natin sa kanila. Pag sinabing protective isolation, yan yung tinatawag natin na reverse isolation. Okay? So that is the ideal type of isolation for your patient with cancer. Protective isolation or the reverse isolation. So, huwag niyong kakalimutan yan. Again, myeloma is a type of blood cancer. Kaya siya tinawag na multiple myeloma because of your multiple bone lesions at the time of its diagnosis. Kaya naging multiple myeloma. Okay, nagets po? Yan. So, kailangan natin medyo iksian yung explanation para mahabol natin. Yes, Crab Science, multiple myeloma. So, nasa oncology nursing natin yan. Aabot tayo sa lecture dyan. So, wag kayong mawawala pag magle-lecture tayo dyan. Next. Number 61. Multiple myeloma is the type of cancer that involves, ay nakakasabi lang natin, it is a type of blood cancer. What is blood? Hematologic. Letter A is the correct answer. So, hindi ko na irarasyo pa. Sabi ko na kanina, hematologic po yan. Multiple myeloma is a type of cancer that involves hematologic. Letter A. Hematologic cancer po siya kasi blood cancer siya. Letter A. Next, number 62. What are the early signs of cervical cancer? A. Abnormal vaginal bleeding. B. Postcoital bleeding. C. Abdominal bloating. Or D. Missed menstruation. What is the early sign of cervical cancer? Ano sagot nyo? Early sign of cervical cancer. A. Yung iba A. Yung iba B. Okay, so always remember, early signs of cervical cancer, naglalaban ng letter A tsaka letter B. Yung letter A kasi napaka-general po siya. Although that is a warning sign of your cancer, ang abnormal vaginal bleeding kasi, that is more on your endometrial or uterine cancer. Yan. Uterine cancer or endometrial. Although ito po ay ginagamit din natin na term para sa cervical cancer. So always remember, cervical cancer is the effect of your HPV infection. Ito yung bukod tanging cancer na hindi smoking ang strongest risk factor niya. Lumalabas sa board exam yan. Hindi po smoking ang ating strongest risk factor kapag cervical cancer. The strongest risk factor of cervical cancer is having a multiple sexual partner. Yun yung sagot sa board exam. Promiscuity, kung tawagin natin. So, promiscuity is one of the strongest risk factor of cervical cancer. Ano daw yun, sir? Pakiulit po. Promiscuity. Ito yung tinatawag natin na promiscuous puberty. Anong promiscuous puberty? Ito yung mga bata pa lang pero sexually active na sila. maaga silang naglandi. Ganun, joke lang. Yan. Maaga silang naglandi. So, maaga po silang kumarengking. Yan. So, iba't ibang lalaki ang kanilang katalik. So, number one factor kasi natin dyan is having your human papillomavirus infection. So, promiscuity, multiple sex partners, sexually active. So, yan po yung pinaka mga factors natin that will lead to your cervical cancer development. Okay? And also with your family history. Pag may family history ka ng cervical cancer, pwede maulit-ulit po yan sa lineage nyo. So, pag meron kang cervical cancer, so aside sa ating abnormal vaginal bleeding, hallmark sign of your cervical cancer is the postcoital bleeding. Okay? So, the correct answer here is not the abnormal vaginal bleeding, but it is the postcoital bleeding. Ito yung kapag ikaw ay nakipagtalik, dinudugo ka lagi. Okay? So, lagi na lang na kapag nakipagtalik ka, dinudugo ka. So, that is abnormal. Postcoital bleeding. So, that is your hallmark sign. Hallmark of your cervical cancer. Okay? Postcoital bleeding. That is the hallmark early sign of your cervical cancer. Okay? So, letter boy is the correct answer. Mali po ang ating letter A, letter C, tsaka letter D. Letter B is the correct answer. Sinakakuha, letter boy. Postcoital. Lagi siyang dinudugo. B. Next, number 63. Which of the following terms refers to the difficult or painful sexual intercourse? A. Endometriosis. B. Dysmenorrhea. C. Dyspareunia. Or D. Amenorrhea. Term lamang po ang tinatanong dito. Definition of term. Painful sexual intercourse. Endometriosis, that is your ectopic growth. Ectopic growth, lumabas na rin po ito sa NP2. Ectopic growth of endometrial cell outside the uterus. Kadalasan na makikita mo tong endometriosis nito sa ovaries. Huwag niyo kakalimutan yan. Common site of endometriosis is sa ovaries. Yan, it can lead to infertility also. So endometriosis is the ectopic growth of the endometrial cell outside the uterus. Okay, outside the uterus. Instead na yung endometrial cell ay sa uterus lang tumutubo, tumutubo na rin ito sa ovaries ng isang babae. At makikita mo sa ultrasound natin, meron siyang chocolate cyst. Yan, tawag mo doon is chocolate cyst. Chocolate cyst ang tawag doon. May mga chocolate cyst po siya. Next, dysmenorrhea. Dysmenorrhea is the term for your painful menstruation. Painful menstrual period is dysmenorrhea. Painful sexual intercourse is dyspareunia. Yung pinapasok pa lang yung uno, aray na siya. Aray, gumaganyan na siya. So, yung umiiyak na siya. Hindi na iyak sa sarap ang naririnig mo, kundi iyak sa sakit. Ganyan na siya. Hindi ganun. Ganun na yung sakit niya. Kasi nga, nasasaktan siya kapag nakikipagtalik. Ang tawag natin doon, dyspareunia. Yan, dyspareunia. Amenorrhea, means absence. Menorrhea means menstruation. So, amenorrhea is the absence of menses. Amenorrhea is the absence of menstruation and that is a presumptive sign of pregnancy. Yan, presumptive sign of pregnancy. Again, ano daw ang tawag mo sa painful sexual intercourse? Dyspareunia. Ano naman ang tawag mo sa vaginal lacking? Vaginismus. Kinain ni Kipepay si Batutay, vaginismus. Shaina and John Lloyd daw yan. Vaginismus. Vaginal contraction. Vaginal lock. Yan, pag nag-lock yung vagina mo or nag-contract yung muscle sa vagina, locking your penis inside, that is your vaginismus. Yan. Kasi nakakuha ng dyspareunia. Ba, tama nila. Dyspareunia niya, mali yung dyspareunia niya. Ang dyspareunia niya, mali ang dysmenorrhea. Sir, may chance pa rin ba magka-cervical cancer kahit hindi na sexually active? Magpa-pap smear po. Yan, pap smear. Yan, okay. So, Richard dyspareunia. Next, number 64. The HPV vaccine is to prevent cervical cancer is recommended to be given to A 0 to 3 years old, B 6 to 9 years old, C 9 to 12 years old, and D 12 to 15 years old. So nasagot na po natin yan para mabilis tayo. So HPV is recommended to grade 4 female students, 9 to 12 years old. Letter C. Letter C is the correct answer. 9 to 12 years old. So meron tayong tatlong doses na binibigay dyan. Dose 1 is upon contact with the learner, yung ating estudyante, grade 4 student. Second dose is 2 months after the first dose. Third dose is 6 months after the first dose. Libre po yan na binibigay. That is under your back-to-bakuna program of the DOH to combat your cervical cancer. Yan. Kunwari, binigyan mo siya ng first dose ng September 2013. Ang second dose niya after 2 months. So, babalik siya November 2013. Then, ang third dose niya after 6 months. So, babalik siya March 2014. So, 3 doses ang ating cervical cancer vaccine. Yung type 6, 11, 16, 18 na variant ng ating HPV. Yun na iwasan natin dyan. So, the route of administration is 0.5 ml intramuscular. Injection site, deltoid region of the left upper arm. Left upper arm. Left upper arm. Yan, left upper arm. Deltoid region, IM 0.5 ml. 3 doses. Today, after 2 months, after 6 months. That is your recommended interval between your doses. Huwag nyo nang kopyan isa-isa. Today, after 2 months, after 6 months. Ganun na lang. Today, after 2 months, after 6 months. 0.5 ml, IM, left deltoid. Example ng brand na binibigay natin, Gardasil or the Cervarix vaccine. The quadrivalent human papilloma vaccine. Yan, the Gardasil or the Cervarix. Target age group, grade 4 public students. Yan, nasa 9 to 12 years old yung ating target. Yan, 9 to 12 years old. Yun yung libre. Sir, ibig sabihin yan, hindi ako pwede magpaturok kasi ilang taon na ako. Pwede pa rin yan. Sumangguni ka at magpaturok din. Lalo na kapag alam mo sa sarili mo na sexually active ka, magpaturok din. Sir, pati lalaki pwede? Yes. Pati lalaki pwede magpaturok ng anti-human papilloma virus. Kasi take note, ang HPV infection is the leading cause of your cervical cancer, vaginal cancer or vaginal warts, yan, penile cancer and penile warts. Yung mga ano natin, mga cervical warts, yan, yung mga condylomata acuminata. Yung parang may cauliflower na yun yung vagina. So yun, that is your HPV. Any question po sa ating dosing of your HPV vaccine? Yan, magpa-pap smear po sa mga active. Yan yung may papayo ko. Pa-pap smear. Pag ayaw mo magpa-pap smear, mag-ascetic swab ka. Tingnan nga natin kung na-apply po dito yung extreme highest, extreme lowest. Tingnan natin. Extreme the highest, extreme the lowest. Second possible lowest is the possible answer. So, hindi siya na-apply doon sa second possible answer. So, 9 to 12 ang sagot natin. O kapag 6 to 9, namali ka na. Hindi 9 to 12 pala ang sagot. So, letter C. It's not always applicable naman. So, tingnan nyo lang. Oo. Tingnan nyo lang din. Pero pag yun talagang di mo talaga alam yung sagot, yun. I-apply mo yun. Applicable po yun. Ayan. Next, number 65. Which client condition should the nurse triage with a red tag? Red tag po yan. Pag sinabi mong red tag, emergency po yan. Emergent condition. Emergent condition. So ito po yung madidiscuss po natin ito sa ating emergency nursing. Kasi pag i-discuss ko ngayon, takaw oras, anong oras na ba? 11:55, 5 minutes na lang. Magle-lecture na naman tayo mamaya. So meron na naman tayong di natapos. Patient with open fracture. Pag open po yung fracture, red po yan. Pag open yung fracture, red. Ay, hindi. Wait lang. Pag open fracture, yellow. Pag close ang fracture, green. Pag amputated limb, that is red. Bruises, that is green. Yan, okay? Pag open yung fracture, yellow. Pag close ang fracture, that is green. Pag amputated limb, that is red. Kapag may bruises or pasa-pasa, that is green. So, alin dyan yung itatag mo ng red? The answer is letter C. Huwag niyong kakalimutan na pag close ang fracture, green lang yan. Pag open yung fracture, yellow yan. Kasamaan ng close fracture sa green ay sprain at saka strain. Tandaan niyo yan ha. Ang kasamaan ng close fracture sa green ay strain, sprain, abrasions. So yun. Green lamang po yun. Yan. So I think meron akong na-upload sa YouTube ko niyan about sa ating emergency nursing. May ratio doon. Panoorin nyo na lamang din yun kung gusto nyo po ng advance sa ating mga tagging. Kasi kung i-ratio at ile-lecture ko ngayon, wala na, kulang tayo sa oras. So ito na lang, Rigby Idme mnemonics. Rigby Idme mnemonics. Pag red, yellow, green, black. Rigby means red, yellow, green, black. Highest priority ang red kasi immediate po dapat nire-respondahan na natin yung ating victim. Yellow is the second priority so you can delay it up to 1 hour. Green, third priority. Minor po ito, mga walking wounded kung tawagin, mga minor lamang yung injury pero nakakalakad pa. Black, lowest priority. Ito na yung mga expectants kung tawagin natin. So maglalagay lamang ako dito ng mga common boards na mga conditions about your red. Maglalagay ako ng tatlo or apat. Mga pneumothorax. Pag mga tension pneumothorax, hemothorax, etc., that is red. Ano pa? Hypovolemic shock. Any form of shock na lang. Hypovolemic, anaphylactic, basta shock na po yan, that is red. Ano pa? Amputations. Amputations and massive bleedings. Yan. So, yun. Marami pa sa red. So, ang nilagay ko lamang ay yung mga common sa board exam nyo. Pneumothorax, shock, amputation, massive bleedings. At saka isa pa, yung isa pang laging tinatanong sa board exam, yung may mga chest pain like MI. MI-like. Yung mga MI-like signs and symptoms. Yung meron siyang chest pain with diaphoresis. That is an immediate priority. Red po ang tagging natin. Pag yellow naman, abdominal wounds. Abdominal wounds with stable vital signs. With stable hemodynamic status. Stable hemodynamic status. Anong ibig sabihin ng hemodynamic? Normal pa naman yung blood flow niya. Hindi pa naman siya nagma-massive bleeding. Slight bleeding lang. Light bleeding lang. Hindi siya yung heavy, hindi siya yung massive. Pag abdominal wound. Ang green yan na yon. Pag green, madami yan eh. Mga close fracture, sprain, strain, yan. Abrasions or gas. So we have a close fracture, sprain, strain, abrasion. Pag black naman, common na ginagamit sa board exam, agonal respiration. Meron na siyang agonal respiration. May agonal respiration, ano pa? Head injury. Head injury. And unresponsive. Pag unresponsive with head injury, that is black. Pag may agonal respiration, that is black. Huwag niyong kakalimutan. So yan yung mga kadalasan na ginagamit na mga conditions pagdating sa emergency nursing sa tagging. Kunwari nilagyan ka sa board exam. What is the appropriate tagging for a patient with a head injury which is unresponsive for blah blah blah? Sagot mo black kasi unresponsive na siya eh. O di kaya is low chance of survival. Nakalagay din doon na without further medical treatment, survival is unlikely. Maganon. Pag survival is unlikely, black na po yun. Okay? Sa green yan, mga ginagamit lagi, close fracture, sprain, strain, abrasions, yan yung mga common na ginagamit. Sa yellow naman, abdominal wound lagi ang ginagamit dyan. Abdominal wound with stable hemodynamic status or stable bleeding, maganyan. Hindi naman massive yung nakalagay doon. Sa red naman, chest pain, pneumothorax, shock, amputation, and massive bleedings. So pag alam mo na yung mga yan, alam mo na yung ating mga tagging dyan. So further lecture will be on your emergency nursing. Nagets nyo? Ayan. O, pa-acknowledge kung nagets. Okay, yes. Screenshot nyo para ano. O, screenshot nyo na lang. Okay. Number 66. Which organism causes most UTIs? A. Proteus mirabilis. B. Klebsiella pneumoniae. C. E. coli. Or D. Pseudomonas aeruginosa. Sagot? Alam niyo na yan. Basic question po yan. Correct answer is E. coli. Letter C. Yan. So, UTI. Sino mas common sa UTI? Female or male? Females. Why females? Because of their short urethra. The reason why common sa babae ang ating UTI because of their short urethra. Ang Pseudomonas aeruginosa, yan naman po yung ating pinaka-causative agent ng hospital-acquired hospital-acquired infection. Yan. Number 1 causative agent dati yan ng nosocomial infection, yung Pseudomonas aeruginosa. Pero ngayon hindi na, E. coli na. Kasi E. coli, UTI is the number 1. Number 1, pag tinanong ka sa board exam, what is the number 1 nosocomial infection? Sagot nyo UTI. UTI po ang pinaka number 1 na nosocomial infection or hospital-acquired infection. And a form of UTI in a nosocomial infection is the CAUTI. What is CAUTI? Ano na kanilang CAUTI? CAUTI. Catheter-acquired UTI. Yan. Catheter-acquired urinary tract infection. So yan yung leading nosocomial infection. Number 1, nosocomial infection. Pag sinabi natin nosocomial, ano ulit ang nosocomial? Nosocomial means hospital-acquired infection. Yan. Hospital-acquired infection po ito. So that is the number 1 nosocomial infection. CAUTI or the catheter-acquired UTI. And the most common causative agent causing your UTI is your E. coli bacteria. Bacteria po ito. E. coli bacteria. Okay, so time check. 12:05. Tapusin ko lang hanggang 70. When the nurse researcher collects data at more than 1 point over an extended period, keyword na lamang ibibigay ko kasi sa research hindi mo kailangan dito ng kailangan mong i-familiarize yung term. sa research kasi hindi mo maintindihan talaga ang research kapag i-define pa natin. Pag extended period, ibig sabihin yan long time. Tapos more than 1 point ang ginagamitan mo ng ng ating study. The design uses more than 1 point over an extended period, long time. Long time, longitudinal. Letter D. Ganun na lang kasimple. Extended period is a long time. Okay? So, longitudinal is the correct answer. Lumabas na po yan noong November 2022 at lumabas na naman po yan last May 2022. November 2021, then lumabas na naman yan last May 2022. So, the correct answer, letter dog. Sino nakakuha? Keyword nyo na yon. Pag sinabi mo kasing cross-sectional, one time period lang. Keyword mo dyan, cross-sectional, one time period. Longitudinal, extended period. Time series over a period. Yan, over a period of time. Depende lang kung anong sinet mong time. Crossover design naman, ang crossover is experimental po ito eh. Yan. So we have your people are exposed to more than one experimental condition. So yun. So malayo na siya sa ating tanong. So keyword kapag one time period, cross-sectional. Pag extended period, longitudinal. Pag one time period, that is your time series design. One time period, cross-sectional. Kapag over a period of time, kung ano yung sinet mong time na pag-collect ng data at paggawa ng outcome ng data, that is your time series design. Kasi may time frame po yan from the word time series. Yan. So we have your longitudinal. Masagot nyo, longitudinal. Yan. Sa pre-board ninyo, karamihan doon mga Palmer talaga. Katulad yan nung last pre-board natin. Namin, Palmer ang nilagay ko karamihan. Hindi ako naglagay doon ng mga basic questions. So expect nyo na sa pre-board nyo talagang madugo din. Kaya maraming pumasa last board exam kasi tinira ko sila sa Palmer sa final coaching tsaka pre-board. Na pinahirapan ko sila bago sila kumawala sa akin. Number 68. If a research study involves an intervention and blinding, which research design is being referred to? Number 1 question po ito yata last board exam sa NP4 kung hindi nagkakamali. Number 1 question po ito. Blinding. A. Non-descriptive. B. Phenomenological. C. Experimental. Or D. Descriptive. Pag sinabi mong phenomenological, wag mo isasagot ito kasi ang keyword mo lagi sa phenomenological is live experiences. Paborito rin po ito ng BON. Phenomenological is the study and understanding of live experiences of your subject. Yan. So, letter B is not correct. Non-descriptive, descriptive. The correct answer here, experimental. Yan. Experimental lang naman ang may blinding. Yan. Meron tayong tatlong klase ng blinding. Yan. Single blinding, double blinding, and triple blinding. Pag single blinding, yung ating subject, hindi niya alam kung ano siya. Kung siya ba ang control group o siya ba yung ating experimental group. Ganun yun. Sa double blinding, hindi alam ng researcher, hindi alam ng participant or ng subject natin. Yan. Tapos sa triple blinding, tatlo na ang hindi nakakaalam. Ganun yun. Kunwari ito. Yung unblinded or open label, all parties are aware of the treatment of the participant receives. Lahat sila alam nila kung ano yung treatment na nire-receive nila. Alam ng clinician, alam ng participant, alam ng researcher. That is the open label. Pag single blind or the single mask blinding, only the participant is unaware of the treatment they receive. So kung ako ay nag-undergo ng experimental research, ako ay sumali sa isang experimental research, hindi ko alam kung ang gamot na tinatanggap ko ay isang placebo or yung gamot na mismo. Kasi hindi ko alam kung ako ba yung control group or kung ako yung experimental group. That is your single blinding. Ikaw na participant ang hindi nakakaalam, pero alam ni researcher at alam ni researcher kung ano yung gamot na tinitake mo. Pero syempre hindi niya sasabihin sa iyo. Okay? That is your single blinding. Sino lang ang hindi nakakaalam? The participant doesn't know if he is taking the placebo or the drug. Or the participant doesn't know if he is the control group or the experimental group. Nagets po ang single blind? Yun yung basic explanation ko dyan para mas maintindihan nyo. Yes. The purpose here is to prevent bias. Ano po, naintindihan nyo ang ating single blind? Yan, si ano lang ang di nakakaalam, si participant lamang or si subject of research lamang di nakakaalam kung ano po yung kanyang grupong kinakabilangan. Kung siya ba ay control group o kung siya ba ay kasali sa experimental group. Sa double blind, the participant and the data collectors are unaware of the treatment the participant received. Parehas tayo na di nakakaalam kung ano na yung tinatanggap mo. Kung ako yung researcher, ikaw yung participant, di ko din alam kung ang binibigay namin gamot sa'yo ay yung drug or yung placebo. Ganun yun. So, hindi natin alam pareho kung ikaw ba ay experimental or ikaw ba ay nasa control group. So, that is double blind. Dalawa na ang hindi nakakaalam kung ano yung treatment na nire-receive mo. The clinician or the collector of data or the researcher and the participant. Parehas na po silang hindi nakakaalam. Sa triple blind, tatlo na kayo. From the word blind, di nyo na nakikita, di nyo na alam. Yan. So, ikaw na participant, ikaw na researcher, ikaw na clinician, di mo na alam kung ano yung treatment na nire-receive ng participant. Di nyo alam. Wala sa inyong lahat ang nakakaalam kung anong nire-receive niyang treatment. Kung siya ba'y nagtitake ng placebo or yung drug or siya ba'y kabilang sa control group or kabilang man siya sa experimental group. So that is short, triple blind. So ganun lang kasimple yung explanation dyan. Single blind, subject does not know kung siya ba'y nasa placebo or control group or experimental group or yung drug. Yan sinasabi ko kanina. Sa double blind naman, parehas na si subject or participant at saka yung ating experimental, yung ating researcher na di nakakaalam kung ano nire-receive ng kanyang participant. Sa triple blind, tatlo na. The subject, yung sponsor or yung clinician at saka yung ating researcher. Wala na nakakaalam sa tatlo kung ano nire-receive ng tao or ng ating participant. Di nila alam, tatlo sila. Di nila alam kung participant ba yung kung control group ba yung participant or experimental group ba si participant. So, that is your triple blinded kung tawagin natin. So, nagets nyo ha? So, wag nyo kakalimutan yan. Pag dalawang di nakakaalam, double blind. Pag parehas kayo ng researcher mo, hindi nakakaalam kung ikaw ba control or experimental group, that is double blind. Kung alam ni researcher, pero hindi mo alam, single blind. Okay. 69. Which of the following statement is least descriptive of a qualitative research design? Qualitative. It explore. Qualitative. Gusto niyang i-understand yung isang bagay. That is qualitative. Want to understand a thing. Okay? So, ang ginagawa sa qualitative, it is more on observation. Huwag niyong kakalimutan ha. More on observation po. Kapag sa quantitative kasi, more on testing of data. Dinetest niya yung mga datas natin. Sa qualitative, more on observations lang tayo dyan. So, sa qualitative, researchers become involved, yes. Kasi minsan ay pumupunta siya sa field para mag-observe. Yan. Gather data from one collection strategy. One collection. Flexible and elastic, yes. That is qualitative. Strives understanding of the whole strategy. Yes, ina-understand nga niya. Yan, in-depth study. Letter D. Pasok din yan. So, except list kasi. So, negative ang tanong na yan. So, except letter B. Kasi one collection strategy. No, hindi lamang po isa yung collection strategies natin dito. So, mali yung letter B. So, the correct answer is letter B. List description of your qualitative research. A, C, and D are true description of qualitative research. Letter B is not true. Nasa YouTube ko yata ito kung hindi nagkakamali. Ito, the difference between your qualitative research and the quantitative research. Pag sinabi natin qualitative research, the focus is the quality, yung features. Sa quantitative naman, quantity. In short, ang focus ng ating quantitative is numerical data. Huwag niyong kakalimutan yan. So, more on numerical data po ito. Numbers. So, pag nakita mo yung numerical data, that is quantitative. The philosophy of qualitative is phenomenology, while your quantitative is positivism. The method of your qualitative is more on observation. Yung sinabi ko kanina, more on ethnographic observation. Sa ating quantitative naman, more on experiments and correlations. Mga numbers po ito. Mga degree of correlationship. Numbers. The goal of your qualitative is to understand and to know the meaning of a certain study. Yung kunwari, kung anong pinag-aaralan niya, gusto niyang intindihin yan. Yung ating quantitative naman, it always tests hypothesis and makes predictions. The sign of your qualitative is always flexible. Ang ating quantitative is structured na po yung design niya. The sample of your qualitative is more on purposeful sampling. Dito naman sa ating quantitative, random sampling. Data collection for qualitative, more on interviews, observations, and documents. While in your quantitative, more on questionnaires, scales, tests, and inventories. Common board questionnaires. Quantitative. Analysis, inductive reasoning. Yan. Inductive is qualitative. Deductive is quantitative because of your statistical method. So, lumalabas sa board exam yan. Pag deductive, quantitative. Pag inductive, qualitative. Then the findings, comprehensive and detailed. Sa ating quantitative naman, more on numerical pa rin. Yan, numerical findings. So that is your quantitative and your qualitative research. Lumalabas sa board exam, qualitative research phenomenology. Ano daw yung kanyang ginagawang research, phenomenology. Tapos ano daw yung method of data collection, observation. Tapos ano daw yung kanyang reasoning na ginagamit, inductive. Ano pa yon? Observation. Yan, lumalabas sa board exam. Observation. Dito naman, numerical data. Quantitative. Tapos, yung random sampling, questionnaires, then deductive. So, yan lumalabas sa board exam. About qualitative and quantitative research. Or screenshot, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, next. We have your number 70. Qualitative researchers should choose their participant who can best meet the objectives of study. Who of the following best qualifies? Best qualifies. So keyword sa qualitative research, more on ang philosophy natin is to study life experiences or phenomenology, and the goal is to have an understanding of the study. So, qualitative yun. So, paano natin mas maintindihan yung ating study to best meet of our objective. Yan, to best meet of our objective, sino dapat ang kukunin natin ditong participant sa ating study? A, cooperative person in the community. B, those convenient for the researcher. Accidental ito, accidental sampling po ito. Pag convenient accidental sampling. Person referred by friends, ano po ito? Yan, snowball sampling. Referral, snowball sampling. Snowball sampling po ito. Snowball sampling. Ito naman, accidental or convenient sampling. Accidental or convenience. So, ang sagot natin dito is letter C. Able to articulate and reflect on the phenomenon that they experience. Ang tawag natin dyan, purposive sampling. Siyempre, ang kunin mo is yung meron ng experience doon sa study mo. Ang tawag mo doon sa sampling na yon is the purposive sampling design. So, letter C is the correct answer. Kasi kung babalikan mo yung qualitative, the sample is collected via purpose. Yan. Kung sino yung mga nag-experience na, kung sino yung alam mo makakasagot, makakapagbigay ng data about your study, yun yung kukunin mo. Purposive sampling ang tawag doon. Kunin mo lang yung, kunwari, ang studies mo is HIV patient. So, kunin mo lamang yung mga may HIV. Ganun lang yun. Postpartum mother, blah, blah, blah. Yung mga postpartum lang kukunin mo. Ganun po yun. So, tawag mo doon, purposive sampling design. Okay? So, number 70, ang pipiliin mong participant to meet your objective of your study, we have your letter C. Those person who are able to articulate and reflect on the phenomenon that they experience. And that is your purposive sampling design. So, letter C is the correct answer. Okay? So, ituloy na lang natin yan mamaya. Siguro, wait lang. Kasi mamaya sinabi ko na yung midwife, may lecture tayo mga alauna. Kailan natin itutuloy kaya ito? Bukas na lang ulit siguro. Yan, bukas na lang ulit. Tutuloy ulit natin bukas. At least is nauutay-utay natin siyang sagutan. Yan. O, bukas na lang. Okay? So, bukas, itutuloy natin ulit. Mamayang tanghali, mga 1:30, mag-resume tayo sa lecture. Mamayang gabi meron din. Mamayang 1:30 mag-lecture tayo kasama ang midwife hanggang gabi. Okay? So, ayan. So, kain muna kayo. Advanced review na lang muna kayo sa video pag ganun, ha? Kasi almost lahat naman ng topics last season nandun pa rin sa ating Facebook group. 75%. Mamayang gabi, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Ganun pa rin. Hanggang alas 4 lang tayo mamaya. Yan. Kasi mag-gym ako ng mga 4:30. Okay, sige. 1:30 tayo mag-resume kasi 12:24 na po. Nagbabawas po ako ng timbang kasi naging overweight po ako ngayon. Nag-overweight ako. Sige na, dami niyong tanong, Marites na naman kayo. Happy lunch everyone. Kita-kits po tayo mamaya.